Hi, and welcome to the next episode of Hansells Solicitors podcast. And today, my guest is Shelyna. Hi, Shelyna.
Hi, Stephen.
So lovely to have you here today. My first question is, talk to me about your journey to this point in your career.
Oh, gosh, seems like it started a very long time ago. As a teenager, I went to an all-girls convent school in London where I did extremely well in my O-levels, as they were at the time, but got to the age of 16 and thought to myself, I don't think I really want to stay at convent school. I want to go to college. So I was one of the few people to leave. And I went to college to do my A-levels. And I don't know whether it's fortunate or not, but I decided, having done really well my O-levels, that I was just naturally very, very brainy. And so I went to college and discovered boys and just having lots of fun, and had 2 years of great fun. But unfortunately, failed my A-levels because I wasn't naturally brainy. So I think I passed one A-level, and I was devastated because I always wanted to go to university. So at that point I thought, well, I really need to buckle down and I need to do some work. So the following year, stayed at home. I did 2 A-levels in 1 year. And one of my new A-levels was law, because I'd done physics before and I hated physics with a vengeance. So I did law, passed my 2 A-levels, and then decided that I wanted to become a lawyer. So from there, I went to university and I did 3 years. I started off doing a law degree at Essex University, and then I got sort of halfway through that and I got the opportunity to convert and do a European law degree, which meant going abroad for a year. And I thought, yeah, why wouldn't I? So I converted to a European law degree, and in my 4th year I went and lived in Denmark for a year.
Wow.
And absolutely loved it. It was definitely my best year of university. Still got lots of friends from there that I get to see. And so I did that, then came back, did my finals. Whilst I'd been at university, I was looking for my traineeship. And I knew I didn't want to work in London, having grown up in London. But my mum was still living in London, so I wanted to be fairly close to be able to go back to see her. And Hansells was one of the places that I applied to become a trainee. And they offered me a job, and it was at that point I was changing to a European law degree, and I sort of called them up and said, I'm really sorry, I know I'm supposed to be starting this year, but I've been offered this opportunity. And they were absolutely fantastic and said, well, that's fine, we'll just keep your place for the following year. Wow. So the very first time I came to Norwich was for my interview at Hansells, and the second time was the day before I started my job here, which was now nearly 30 years ago.
Wow, 30 years?
Yeah.
Incredible, incredible. What a journey. I didn't even know, I know you reasonably well, and even I didn't know some of that journey. So what was it like leaving home and going, not just somewhere in the UK, but actually going somewhere abroad?
It's really weird looking back on it now, because my daughter, my eldest daughter, has just done a gap year going all over the world. But I've been able to FaceTime her, every couple of days and talk to her. And it made me think back to when I went abroad and leaving my mum at home, because at that time we didn't have anything like that. And I used to remember that mum used to write me these long letters updating me on everything that had been going on at home, including what was going on in EastEnders, because I obviously couldn't see EastEnders and loved it. And once a week she used to call me so that I'd be able to speak to her. But it was a really, really big step, and I really missed my mum big time. But yeah, it was a big step going abroad and leaving home at that age, and leaving it properly, because you were going abroad. It's not like you could just pop home and see your mum or anything like that. But I'm so pleased I did it. I absolutely loved it, and it really helped me evolve as a person and meet lots of different types of people doing different things to what I was doing.
That brings me on to my next question. What do you think the experience that young on in your career helped you to where you are now?
I just think it's that idea of meeting people, not just different types of people, but people from different countries who've got different traditions. different things that were important to them, sort of the language as well. I was fortunate everyone spoke English, but not everyone did perfectly. So it was just more that being patient and understanding and coaxing information out of people. I think it just gave me a all-round experience of different types of people.
Yeah. And in terms of the culture, because you said Denmark, right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
I spent a bit of time in Denmark in Tunda, and one of the things that really struck me about being in Denmark was just the space. It was just so open, and that always allowed me to feel quite relaxed. Was that the same for you when you were there?
Well, I was in Copenhagen, so slightly different, but we used to do quite a bit of travelling around Denmark, so I know exactly what you mean about the space. So, you know, occasionally we would hire somewhere out by the beaches or in the countryside, and you'd just be surrounded by all that space. Probably the main difference for me was being in a place where everyone was so much taller than me because the Danes are so tall, and I was just always like the little dark one, and everyone else around me was tall and blonde, you know, so that was quite funny.
And those of you that are just listening and you can't see Shelyna, she's quite small.
I am quite small.
But she's a pocket rocket. So would you say being a solicitor has changed dramatically since you started 30 years ago?
I think it has. It has for me. I think starting off as a solicitor, obviously very much aware of my career and what I was learning at the time. And I think where I am now as a partner and a head of department, I'm so much more aware of the managerial side and the commercial side of things. And I think you grow as a solicitor as your career progresses, depending on what you want to do. So my role now is so much more than being a solicitor. I find that I'm a solicitor, I'm a manager, I'm a confidant. You know, it's a whole variety of things that go into being a partner and managing a department and a firm now.
I love that, you know, Shelyna, and what you're talking about, because I guess when you were being educated and you were taking all your exams and you were going through the different process, no one really took you to one side and said to you, this is how you manage or this is how you lead people. So how, you know, you talked there about, you know, some of the things that you do. How did you find that, and how did you find your, you know, your comfort? So yes, I'm going to be able to do this bit of it.
I think probably by making a lot of mistakes, if I'm totally honest. I mean, again, when I started at Hansells, we were a much more traditional law firm. When I became a partner, there were 13 partners at Hansells, and I was one of 2 women. We were in a really different place to where we are now. And as you say, I wasn't trained. I've never had any experience of managing people. So it's something that has evolved over the years. And for me, you know, it's still a case that I'm evolving in my role as a manager. But I mean, I honestly say, by making lots of mistakes, in all honesty, and sometimes having to sit down with your team, as I've done, and say, I'm really, really sorry, you know, I cocked up on this, I didn't do it right, and, you know, bear with me while I try and do things differently and better.
That's so lovely to hear. You know, we often say, don't we, that we learn more from our mistakes, and it sounds like you've definitely learned as you've gone through. So what would you say your leadership style's like? If I was to say, you know, what is your leadership style?
I think now, being in the department that I'm in now, which is not the area of law that I initially started in, I have less experience now, so I think now I listen to what my team have to say. So they know full well I give my view on what I think should be happening, but I'm very open to listening to what they say and taking their advice, because, you know, often is the case, they know better than I do, and then implementing that as best as I can. So it has to be a team effort, even though sometimes I have to say, no, sorry, we can't do it that way, because I try and explain that so that they understand, they come with me.
That's really nice. And what do you do outside of the law? Because obviously we've been talking about what you do here, but what do you do when you're not here?
What do I do when I'm not here? Well, I suppose both my girls are now getting to an age where they don't need me anymore. One definitely.
I can tell I can tell by the way you answer that hurts, doesn't it?
Yes, I know. It's just like, what do you do after you stop looking after your children all the time? But I love cooking at home. I do love socialising. I belong to a boxing gym as well, so I enjoy going along to that. No sparring involved from my point of view, I have to say. Walks. I'm a family person. You know, my mum no longer lives in London. She moved up to Norfolk, and so I see my mum a lot as well. And my dad, when he was around, I brought him from Spain back to Norfolk. I brought the whole family with me eventually, and I spent quite a bit of time with him as well. So yeah, I like seeing people as well.
I know one of the questions I often get asked when doing podcasts is, how do you get the work-life balance? You know, you're a mum, you know, you're a wife, you know, you're a confidant. You know, how do you get that balance?
Juggling. I don't always get it right. At the moment, you know, work is the heavy part of that balance at the moment. And it's always a juggling act. And I think I found it difficult over the years, especially when the girls were younger, trying to get that balance. But it's made me appreciate for those that are coming up in the firm how important it is to enable them to get the balance.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, I have to say to people, you haven't got the balance right. You need to spend a bit more time at home with your family, because that is important. And the years just disappear so quickly when you have a family. So, yeah, I think the answer to that is juggling, constantly seeing what you're doing, what takes priority, and there's give and take on both sides. Unfortunately, have an understanding family as well. So, yeah.
Who inspires you, Shelyna?
Who inspires me? Oh my gosh, that is a very good question. I think that a lot of the people that I know personally inspire me. I think of all my partners. My partners at work are amazing. They always inspire me for different reasons. I always remember sort of thinking in the past, I wish I was like so-and-so partner. But then speaking to someone and them saying to me, do you know what, it'd be awful if you were all the same. You wouldn't bring different things to the partnership. And that really made me appreciate me from who I am and the different things I bring to the partnership. And then that made me look at all the different other people in the partnership. I sort of thought, I wish I was like them, and appreciate what they have and how we complement each other. So I think people that I know locally and that I meet inspire me. Talking to someone recently about how he gets up at 4 o'clock in the morning, all the things he does before he even gets to work, and I'm thinking, wow, that's inspirational. He's spent half his day by the time I even get up in the morning. So yeah, it's just people that I get to meet every day.
I like that, and I like that your inspiration comes from people around you. Sometimes people's inspiration might come from someone, you know, a celebrity or someone really far removed, but the fact that you're inspired by people around you, I think is really good. Right, I'm now going to ask you some quick fire questions, okay? So the first question, which I need to look at my little list because I can't remember them. A cat or dog?
Dog.
Pasta or rice?
Rice.
Podcast or music?
Music.
So that wasn't that painful, was it?
It wasn't that painful. I was going to think, oh no, but yeah, that's good.
I always like to leave my listeners with some tips or some things that they can sort of use away from the podcast. So one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, someone starting out in law, what advice would you give them?
I think, oh gosh, that's a good question. What advice would I give them? I think it would be to enjoy the time that you're presently in, as well as keeping an eye on what you want to do in the future. I think also it's about challenging yourself. So I think when you start off in your career, everything is a challenge. Because you're getting to know the firm that you're working in, the type of work that you're doing. But you evolve and you become good at what you do as a job. But I think it's important to forget that you never stop learning, either regarding your area of expertise or even potentially taking on new challenges. I can't believe my time of life that I've moved from one area of law to completely a different one. And as scary as that has been, the fact that I'm doing a new challenge again, it's quite exciting to do. So I think it's maybe, you know, as you evolve, don't get stuck in your ways. Look for challenges, look for ways that you can evolve and keep your career interesting.
That's a really, really good answer. I like that. Last question, I promise.
Okay.
So what do you want for Hansells over the next 5 years?
Very similar. I think we have evolved incredibly over the last 5 years, and I want to see that continuing to happen, and that means growing the firm, growing all of our teams, but working together to get there. So we have a brilliant team at Hansells. We have some fantastic people who work for us, but it's really important to us that we take everyone along with us on the journey, because we grow together, and we're better in that way together. So yes, getting bigger and even better at what we do.
Thank you, Shelyna. Thank you for being such an amazing guest. That's all for today, and we'll look forward to seeing you again. And I'm introducing another guest to you. Bye for now.